That's me right here. At Keith Flemming on Twitter. I am joined by my gambling guru, Allen Sandige, known on Twitter as Actively Lazy 85. Allen, what is going on?
Yo, what's up?
I am ready to do some gambling and talk some golf. I think everybody's getting out of football season. It's a little bit sad, especially for us that like to gamble. And golf is a good way to get back into it.
It's not sad at all. I feel like a big weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
Well, I'm sad, but it's probably because I'm a Falcons fan, and every season ends earlier and earlier each year. But so what we're going to do on this pod each week is talk about the events leading up to it, what happened the week before on tour, any news. Then we will break down the course, some stats you need to know, and then we're going to give picks, both DFS and for gambling. That'll be to win, top 5, top 10, etc. Before we get into the news, real quickly, I want to remind everyone that you can become an all-access member of Fantasy Six Pack by going to fantasysixpack.net/plans. You'll get access to their Discord, access to award-winning rankings, tools, and more, including me and Allen giving you golf advice. If you join today using the promo code F6PMLB, you get 15% off. So be sure to check that out. Allen, it's so fitting. I mean, you have done this for a long time. I expected before Friday to come in talking about what was another great tournament, which it was. Scott Scheffler had an impressive win. Him, Rory, and Rahm continue to win over and over again. But my boy is back. All is right in the world. Tiger Woods announced he will play this week. I know you're as excited as I am to hear
that. I'm happy that Tiger Woods is alive. I will say that. But I mean, market-wise, it's always good when Tiger comes in because so much attention is put on Tiger Woods that you do sometimes get odds bump. But I don't think at his current state or entering into this tournament that we're going to see that. But it's always interesting when he comes. And I will admit that I, too, am victim to could he pull it off? Could he pull it off? Because it's still Tiger Woods. But this no pun intended. This cat is very long in the tooth. He's got some injuries, man. And as long, people just getting used to us or just coming in. If you hear the noise in the background, I have a 5-year-old. I am extremely sorry. It's bath time, so we can't keep him but so quiet. But anyway, what I was going to say is that one of the things that you'll hear me say often about Tiger Woods is as long as the temperature is above 70, he'll finish the tournament.
You still there, Al?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, sorry. I thought I lost you for a second. No, I agree. You should be really proud of me. I tempered expectations this week. I did throw him in a prop that'll be at the very end of the episode, but people who know me know I'm a huge Tiger mark. I got on the Tiger, the return t-shirt. I'm ready to go this week. But I even put in the article that went out today on fantasysixpack.net that we need to temper our expectations with him, be thankful that he is playing. It's good for the game. It's obviously good for the field. He draws so many eyeballs, helps the purses get bigger. But we just, within reason. I'm just happy to have the big cat back. Let's hope he finishes this week's event. Let's get into Riviera, which is where they're hosting the Genesis Invitational. Riviera Country Club is an iconic venue on tour. It will actually host the Olympics men golf competition in 2028, which I thought was pretty cool. It's known for its very tight dog legs, narrow fairways. It has tricky Kakua rough, which for those that don't know, that is a rough that's a little sticky. So when it's wet, it gets really difficult to get out of. And the issue with Kakua rough is it's just really hard to tell what the ball is going to do. You know that in the rough, sometimes it jumps, sometimes it comes out heavy. Kakua is very difficult to kind of figure out what the golf ball is going to do. And then the greens are as firm and fast as, any of the top 10, 15% of greens on tour. This course challenges every player. You rarely ever see low numbers at this event. Winning score is usually somewhere 7 to 11 under, nothing crazy. And again, it's because it's really difficult to hit fairways. That means it's really difficult to hit greens. Players miss a lot of greens here. The field will not have short irons into this course. This is not something you can overpower. 75% of approach shots come from 150 yards or more. And the greens are actually some of the toughest on tour. They're Poana, which for those that don't know, again, Poana is a surface guys don't play on very much except for really out on the West Coast. They get very bumpy as the days go on and they start to grow. The issue here is that this is one of the top 5 hardest venues for players to make putts inside 15 feet. So that's something to pay attention to. Again, it gets tougher as the day goes on. Course comps are kind of difficult, to be honest. There's not really some great comparisons. I do like putting Bay Hill, Torrey Pines, and Quail Hollow. They're a little bit similar. Not all of them are par 71s, but they play similar, especially in conditions and the scoring. Augusta National is one that I included just because the track record of guys that do well at Augusta and do well here is pretty long, including Tiger, Adam Scott. There's a lot of guys that they consistently play well at Augusta. They consistently play here. The stats that I would look for, and Alan, add any of these if you think you see any. Strokes gained tee to green, I think, is the most important one. Difficult conditions, followed by, again, you're going to miss a lot of fairways and greens, so you want to know strokes gained putting. Poana greens, make sure you put that in there. And then strokes gains around the green, scrambling. Anytime that birdies are not going to be, at a high rate, you need to look at bogey avoidance, again, on difficult courses. And then I have par 4 scoring 450 to 500 yards and par 5 scoring 550, 600, even though I will remind everyone the first par 5 on the back, number 10, is it's basically a par 4 by today's standards, but the other 2 par 5s are quite long. Is there any other stats you were looking at, Alan, when kind of composing your guys?
Yeah, so this is my first tournament back. So I tried to keep it as simple as possible. From a gambling aspect, in my opinion, strokes gained tee to green is always a key stat. But and again, this is our first podcast, so people getting used to us, you'll hear me say things a lot like ball striking is important, especially when I am not familiar with the course or if I'm just entering into a tournament and I'm a little green. My fallback is ball striking, and then I look at the course layout as you described. Strokes gained approaching and strokes gained putting were my 2 categories that I thought I should emphasize. And then I even went further and looked at last year's results, and just in general, the historical results at this course. Top 10 finishers have been pretty good in strokes gained approach and pretty good in strokes gained putting. So that lets me know that I was kind of pointed in the right direction. And then par 4 and par 5 scoring. I mean, anytime you get par 5s, I think they're always important.
Right.
So what I was reading about the course and what I've been gathering from a lot of what people have been saying, like in interviews and stuff, you're gonna miss greens at this course. Usually we try to emphasize people being accurate, but the way people are describing it as far as the players, it's a waste of time in some aspects. The biggest thing is to make sure that you have the right angles in these courses that are difficult, and then just make sure you're not giving strokes back to the field. So guys who par out sometimes gain ground because guys are getting bogeys and double bogeys. So you want to pay attention to that. Like you said, bogey avoidance, scrambling, if you want to keep it super simple, because that will probably come into play as well.
Yeah, completely agree. We're going to do some DFS plays first, then we'll get into our actual gamble bets. So, Alan, this is a question for both gambling and DFS. We got 3 guys right now that are being ranked, the lowest odds to win. Obviously, that's Scheffler, McIlroy, Rahm. They're by far the highest guys on DraftKings. Me and you normally recommend don't take the guy with the low odds. It's not really a good enough return, right? That, when somebody is 8, 9, 10 to 1, there's not really any value. Same thing on DK. When you're spending that much of your lineup, 11K on a guy, it's really difficult then to fill out the rest of your lineup because you've used over a fifth of your salary. However, when Rahm's won twice, he's finished top, I think, 10 all 6 times this year. I think he's been top 6 all 6 rounds. Scheffler's already won. He's got a top 5. Rory's already won. Do you kind of amend that when the 3 best players in the world are playing at the level they are?
Scotty Scheffler has defied all logic for me in the last 2 years. I used to be like, oh, you don't bet guys after they win a tournament. I mean, when you're talking about consistency and streaky, like Scotty's been that guy for the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, depending on how you've been betting him. And when you line him up against Rory and Rahm right now, statistically, you still got to lean Scotty, if you ask me. I think if you're picking between those 3, Scotty has the best value at 10-1. And then as far as DraftKings go, I think you can depend on him again to at least top 10. Rahm's a beast. I love Rahm. I've been following him since he was Arizona State. I used to bet him when he was a rookie, just getting on the tour and stuff like that. I just think he's a little overvalued at plus 750 on DraftKings. And again, Rory, you know how I feel about Rory.
Especially after the way he putted last week.
Yeah. And so what I will say is this is my teaching moment here for golf gambling and how I do it. So if I have a guy like Rahm's plus 750, Rory's 9-1, Scotty's 10-1, those odds coming in on the open are very low. These 3 guys, and typically what you see in golf tournaments in general, the favorite isn't coming out shooting 15 under in the first round. They usually have to come from behind. So if you wait and live bet it, you're going to get Rahm at 10-1 at some point, I'm sure. You're going to get Rory at 12-1 at some point, I'm sure. And you'll probably get Scotty at 14, 15-1 at some point, I'm sure, too. So if you really like them, wait on it. And I think if people went back and look historically at the favorites in golf tournaments, that's probably the better approach. You're going to get longer odds on these guys because they just don't typically start out lights out. In a course like this where it's difficult as well, you're going to get some good value live on those 3 guys.
Yeah, I agree with so much of what you said. The one thing that I will edit is just that for DraftKings, I do like Rahm right now. I think that if you're going to spend the money on one of those 3, I think Rory's 10-5, Scheffler's 10-6, Rahm's 11-1, but for good reason. He's gone first, 7th, 3rd his last 4 events. To me, the big thing is his scoring. He scored 155, 157 his 2, winning weeks. That makes sense. But he scored 96 and 108 the last 2 weeks with 7th and his 3rd place finish. I just think right now, if you're going to spend that money, which I didn't in my official lineup in the Fantasy Six-Pack article, but I do like Rahm right there. The other guy in the expensive range and what we qualify expensive range is 9K and above. For me, it's JT, 10,100. I really liked what I saw out of him last week. He's coming to a venue that he has some success at. He is one of those guys that he's as good as anybody on tour tee to green. He's really good around the greens. And he's been struggling with the putter as of late, but typically he putts better on Poana greens. So he would be the other expensive guy I'm looking for DK this week. You got any other guys in that 9K above range you like?
Yeah. So let's see. I just pulled up DK because I was looking at the gambling one. Based off of what I picked for my actual betting stuff, I wasn't looking to load up on Rahm, Scheffler, or Rory. JT would have hit my board just because I've got him as one of my tier bets. One of the things too I want to point out about Justin Thomas coming in is that he finished 6th last year, which helps a lot. I think from what I've seen in betting for winners, top guys who come in form and finish top 5 typically the year before are good gambling bets to win it the next year.
Yeah, he's got 3 top 10s since 2018 here.
Yeah. And he's playing with Tiger. You know how he gets when he plays with Tiger.
That's what I'm saying. He would definitely like to have his boy Tiger / idol hand him the trophy.
And from a gambling standpoint, those little things do matter.
Yep. And I also want to add that Poa greens are the only surface in the last year that he's gained strokes on. So again, his putting has not been really, that's been the difference in JT in the last year. These are the type of greens he puts the best on. The next range to me is there's a ton of options.
Before we switch real quick, I just want to let people know, DFS and gamblers, hell, I'm sure, I'm not even sure if I can say it, but anyway, I'm sure that people who actually play golf will tell you too. Poa greens are frustrating. They're frustrating to watch as fans. They're frustrating to watch as a gambler. So whatever you do this weekend, DFS or betting, I'm telling you, get you a nice drink or something that's going to ease your nerves. Because if you're watching Sunday, you're going to see some things that are literally defy logic sometimes with some of these greens.
Yeah, because they're automatic from that 5 to 7 foot range, and on these greens, that is not the case. Even 3-4 feet can get difficult in the afternoons.
You're like, where'd that rock come from?
Exactly. So the median range is 8,900 to 7,500. I think Victor Hovland is a guy you got to look at, 8,900. I like the fact that he had his worst finish in almost, I think, a year. Last week at the WMPO, he finished 42nd. But he's got 2 top 5s and 2 appearances here. This is the kind of course it's made for him because his struggles are he's not very good around the greens. But he's such a good ball striker that it's going to give him an advantage. He's really big tee to green at this venue. He's picked up a ton of strokes, and he actually putts well, which again, at this venue, he putts better overall at Poa greens, but his numbers in this event the last 2 years are really shocking. He's averaging over 4 strokes gain per event on the greens, which that happens never for Hovland. If he does that again this week, I expect him to contend. I like Hideki Matsuyama. 8,200, unbelievable track record here. Made the cut 6 of the last 8 times, 4 top 11 finishes. Hideki is someone who plays good on hard courses. He puts the best on Poa greens, and he's a ball striker. And then you're going to laugh, but it's my boy Adam Scott. He's made 8 straight cuts here. He's got 5 top 11 finishes. Adam Scott plays this course as well as anybody in the world. And what I like about Scott is his tee to green numbers, his last 6 events, are getting back to the level that he had years ago, the last time he had this successful run, because Scott has improved so much around the greens and putting. That's something that now he gains strokes round after round, but his tee to green numbers had gone from he was gaining 3 to 4 strokes on the field to just a little bit more than 1. Well, he's back around that 3.5 his last 5-6 events. I really like Scott at that 8,000 range. There's other guys in that range. Is there anybody you like?
Yeah, just for Adam Scott references, I don't mind him in DFS, but I cannot bet Adam Scott.
Even though we did have one of our biggest wins ever on this show with my boy.
And I'll never, I'll leave it at that. I'm going to take my money to the window, cash it out. I'm never going back. Hideki, I wasn't sure how healthy he was, but I'm assuming, I'm looking at his track record.
He's had back-to-back starts where he hasn't said he's had any issues. He banged up his neck early January, but all signs, I even put that in the article, he seems to be good to go. So I had not listed him the last 2 weeks. I did include him this week because his value, I think, is really good.
So you know, I say this a lot, but if I like Jon Rahm, my secondary cheaper version of him is Tyrell Hatton.
Yep.
And I think he's got good value at 8,100 there. He's 5 for 5 on cuts, got 2 top 10 finishes. I think he would do well on this course. And then I feel like my guy's getting overlooked this week. Big Z, man, Will Zalatoris has great history on tough courses, top 10 in strokes gained approach and ball striking, which I think is definitely key. In courses that have been not only tough but have had really good feels, I think Zalatoris has found his niche. I think he gets a little fired up, and he handles like courses for the first time. He handles them pretty well. I would say for like coming off of his tenure at I think Georgia, coming onto the tour, like the toughest courses when he did his first start he was like phenomenal. So I think you're getting good value with him, not only betting, but also in DFS.
Yeah, 2 top 25s at this venue in 2 trusts. He is somebody that I always tell people, if you're on a course where putting and scrambling are big, and normally you got to understand the reason they're big is because people are missing fairways and greens. Zalatoris is one of the best ball strikers in the world, and it actually helps him. Even though that's two things that he typically struggles with, I think it actually helps him that other guys don't make as many putts. They don't get up and down as much around the greens because it just puts more emphasis on his ball striking. The bargain range, 7,400 and below. Let's start with Nick Taylor. If you were not impressed with what he did last week on Sunday, going toe-to-toe with Scheffler and Rahm, two of the top 3 players in the world. He beat Rahm head-to-head, tied Scheffler. I think he's just too cheap at 7,400. He's got 3 top 20s in his 4 events this year. He's got 3 straight made cuts at this event, including the top 20 last year. The next guy is Shane Lowry, which I'm sure people probably read in the article and are going, he just missed back-to-back cuts for the first time in 17 months. Yes, he did, but that was Lowry's first event in the States in almost 6 months. So I think that there's a little rust. And I always trust Lowry on difficult tracks. He's another one of the guys. He plays very well at Augusta. He plays very well with the players. He plays well at these tough venues. I like him at that 7,400 range. And then my boy Sepp Straka, 6,800, is like the cheaper version of Tyrrell Hatton, right? If Tyrrell Hatton is the cheaper version of John Ram, Sepp Straka is the cheaper version of Tyrrell Hatton because they're very similar players. That if he putts well, he's going to do really well because he's somebody who hits a lot of fairways, a lot of greens. He's made 2 straight cuts here. I really like him at that 6,800 number. Molinari is another guy in that range that I also like. Who do you have for some bargain plays?
See, all my bargain plays are they're a little suspect because they're all like names that I feel like people would be picking anyway.
Yeah, but just give them out, man. Come on.
But yeah, Lanto Griffin, VCU, stand up, man.
He's going to be in my prop plays for sure.
Yeah, Lanto at 6,500. I think he's a solid pick. And then what was your price range on this again?
Anything 7,400 and below.
7,400 and below. Okay. What about Fleetwood? He's got a good track record.
He's got a great track record, great game for it. He's not in great form. I had Lowry. That was why I couldn't have both of them because Lowry's missed 2 cuts.
The form thing was one of the things that when I was looking over the numbers, I was like, if I'm building a lineup, a guy that we know is consistent, just not really being consistent right now, you expect him to turn it around. Would he not have more value in a spot here, considering that people might overlook him because of his current form? Like if you look at top golfers, you typically expect them to bounce back, and the competition of being in such a big field and kind of being overlooked might fuel him a little bit. His short game is phenomenal. He's not a risky golfer, and I think on a hard course like this, that could prove to be like some good value there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Him and Lowry, to me, are in the same boat. Like I said, that was the only reason I didn't include Fleetwood because he was somebody I've already put in the lineup. But I do like that we brought him up. All right, let's get to bets to win. How many did you give? Because I ended up giving 6.
All right, so and I'll explain this to everybody real quick. I do a tier system. I take the odds 10-1 to 19-1 is tier 1. 20-1 to 40-1 is tier 2, 41 to 70-1 is tier 3, and then I do long shots of higher than 70-1 odds. Anytime there's like a major, you hear me say tier alpha, that'll be the Rorys and things like that, where there's a 7-1, 6-1, or somebody expected to win that you just don't want to necessarily overlook. I'll make note of that person, and then I will live bet that person if they get higher odds. So starting at tier 1 for me, it was Justin Thomas at 14-1 and Tony Finau at 16-1.
You actually get JT 16-1 on DK.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually went down to 14-1.
Oh, it's already down to 14-1 from earlier?
Yeah, because that's where I all these came within the last like 35, 40 minutes.
That makes me feel good about that play then.
Yeah. Justin Thomas, like we noted before, good course history, finished 6th last year. 7th with greens and regulation. I think that might come into play because that was like the footnote for my stats. And then Tony Finau is just top 10 in everything right now. I mean, I feel like you can't overlook him, even though he has a history of not winning for me or anybody for that matter. But
he finally got over the hump, though.
Yeah,
so
he got over the hump. Hoping that he'll be consistent. And for me, the value of Justin Thomas at 14-1, Finau at 16-1, is what enticed me to pick those guys.
Well, I'm giving us JT at 16-1, not 14-1.
That's
that
fine.
was when we sent it. But that was the one that stood out to me in the lower range was JT. I'm with you about those guys. I love Scheffler, love Rahm. Rory I'm not sure about this venue for Rory. Although if he putts well again, he could end up winning easily. But I think JT in that value, I like the Finau play. Hovland's the next guy I'm really looking at, 28-1. Again, he's got 2 top 5s here. And I just think this is the kind of venue that he's liable to win. He's proved he's won the Hero twice, which is Tiger's other event. So it's not going to be, too much pressure trying to win Tiger's event or anything. He feels comfortable in that situation. And for whatever reason, he likes these greens. It's unbelievable to see his numbers at this event on these Pro-Ana greens compared to all other greens. So I like Hovland a lot in that 28-1 range. And then I'm going to get higher with my next couple of picks. What you got? I know you got a few in that range, though.
The 20 to 40 range?
Yeah.
All right. So I just did 2-2-2 for the 3 tiers. Wasn't, again, first tournament back, not going to overdo it. Love Max Homa at 20-1.
I do too.
Strokes gain, short game is good. Stroke game putting is good. Finished top 10 last year. Even considered putting him in some prop bets. And then, of course, my boy Big Z, I am all in on Will Zalatoris this week, 40-1, and even have him as a 8-1 top 5 shot for me too. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, that's going to be one of my props in the top 5. Love Zalatoris on this course. Again, Hideki, and I know you Adam Scott you don't agree with, but both.
No, I had Hideki. I had Hideki on there.
50-1.
Yeah, 50-1. That's not a bad spot at all.
I like the value there. He's been, again, I think a little under the radar because of the neck, but all the reports show that he's fine. He didn't have any setbacks last week at the Waste Management. And then again, Adam Scott, I really think there's a resurgence coming. He does this every 2-3 years. I said this last time he won this event, and we were doing this podcast for another network, that he wins at one of those courses that he plays well. This is definitely that one. Again, 8 straight made cuts. He's finished top 11 5 times, top 26 of those 8 times, including last year where he had a great finish here. You got any more in that kind of 40 to 60 range, or is that everybody?
40 to 60 range. Tyrell Hatton 50-1 and Keegan Bradley 60-1.
That was a great call. Keegan's somebody I'm mad I don't have on my card, and he doesn't have a great track record here lately. But again, everything we said about what it takes to do well here, it's kind of describing Keegan Bradley.
That was my thing. Like, again, not the greatest track record, but looking for value. When I bet golf, I am looking for value. If it takes me 3 weeks to get a 60-1, then I'm cool with that because I have maximized the value. And I think Keegan Bradley is worth the risk at 60-1, given how he's currently looking on form and how it stacks up with his style of play and this particular course. I think it's very worth the risk.
I like that. And then I got 2 plays at 110-1, which I normally don't go into the 100 range unless we're at an event like this where you can get guys that I think could win the tournament in this range. And Shane Lowry at 110-1. Again, I know he's coming off back-to-back missed cuts. This guy has won big events just in the last couple of years. He plays well on tough courses. I think he should be more like 70-80-1, so I think they're giving away. And then Nick Taylor, 110-1. I don't think there is a great chance Nick Taylor is going to win this tournament. But again, the weird thing about golf, so much of it is confidence, right? So much of it is having belief in your game. And I think you could make a real case that him losing last week, but losing the way he did, going toe-to-toe with arguably the 2 best golfers in the world right now, might have been better than him winning that event without playing with either of those guys or beating those guys where they weren't in contention. And he's playing great. He's got 3 top 20s already this season, just since January. I think 110 is a little high for him because, again, he showed last week Scheffler played great, and he almost won going toe-to-toe with him, and at a place that Scheffler just won the year before. I do like Nick Taylor 110-1. Do you got any long shots?
The longest of shots, Brendan Todd at 300 to 1.
My boy. That's the Allen boy.
That's insane. And honestly, anybody listening to that, just know I'm literally just putting $5 on it. And then Shane Lowry, I thought at 110 to 1 was definitely worth the shot.
All right, let's get into some props. We both talked about Zalatoris, 8 to 1 to top 5. I love that. That's in a crazy value. Zalatoris, all he does is top 5 tough venues. I think that is too high. I have Hovland plus 550 when a guy's 2 for 2, 2 top 5s, and I'm getting almost 6 to 1 odds. Give me that. And then Lowry again, who he'll keep coming up in this, but he is 20 to 1 to top 5. I actually, if you're going to, either put a wager on Lowry to win at 110 to 1, or just put a wager on him to top 5 at 20 to 1. I kind of like the top 5 at 20 to 1 better because obviously it's more likely that he can do that. What top 5s you got for us, Alan?
I just kept it simple with Zalatoris at top 5. I like the guys I really think that could win. I didn't really see the value in it. If I'm doing the top 5, I want that 7 to 8 to 1 range, not the 4 to 5 per se. Because I feel like it's safer to do a top 10 at 4 to 5 to 1 than it is a top 5. I think top 5 is a little bit riskier, so I just want to maximize my value there.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be 5 to 1 or higher.
Yeah.
Because there's some guys, like I said, I'd like Hovland to be 6, but plus 550 is not bad.
Now, I will say this real quick, though, from a live gambling standpoint, yet again, if you got a guy like Rory who comes charging up the board on a Sunday,
Mr. Backdoor top 5.
You can get value on top 5, top 10 finishes, even top 20 on DraftKings and FanDuel if you catch the people at the right time. And if you're currently following the tournament and you've watched how people play, if there's like a weather variance or something like that, guys starting on Sunday morning are going to have a upper hand over guys coming in the afternoon. Find the value. Find the guy that you think can go charging up the leaderboard and steal some money.
And that's the one thing that I should have mentioned, and we have not till yet. If the wind blows, this course becomes really difficult. And right now it doesn't look like it's going to be bad, but be sure to check the forecast tomorrow, because if it looks like the wind's going to blow 1 or 2 of these rounds, bogey avoidance becomes maybe even more important tee to green, because it played really difficult the last time the wind blew through. That was 2020 when like 6 under won the tournament. But top 10 plays, again, I love Shane Lowry. There's just a lot of value. 8 to 1 to top 10. I talked about Nick Taylor earlier, who I really like, plus 850 to top 10. And he's finished top 23 the last 4 starts. And then our boy Lanto Griffin, 25 to 1 to top 10 at a venue that he's got a good track record at. A place, he's got the game for this place as well. I know me and you are higher on him than most people week to week, but Lanto has been very fruitful for us over the years. And I'm really encouraged seeing that he is back. He had the deal with his back. He started playing. He's got 2 events under his belt. He said he feels great. I love Lanto Griffin, 25-1, top 10.
Yeah, that's good value. Not where I had him, but I mean, that's fine. Like I said, I'm a fan of his. I'm not gonna lie, listening to your eyes and looking at my play, I feel like a punk. But I took Tyrell Hatton 4 to 1, top 10. I mean, you could throw Keegan Bradley in there too if you think so at 5 to 1. But I really did play my top 10 a little safer than what I should have done. But I needed to get my guy Tyrell Hatton in there some kind of way.
I like Hatton. I mean, Hatton is a guy that you just gotta hope he doesn't get angry, because you talked about how frustrating the Poa Greens and stuff. But I mean, like, I watched him last week. He was really bad. Really good Thursday. Then he finished his round bad, lost a couple of strokes. He played just okay Friday. And then he had a stretch Saturday, if he had just made a few putts, he would have been in contention with those guys. And he's another one when his putter gets going. But ball striking, which we keep bringing up over and over again, that's what that dude's all about. Top 20 plays. I had to do it. I did, Alan. I got my boy Tiger Woods, 5 to 1. Let me at least make the case, other than just I'm a stan, which I'll admit. Tiger has made the cut in 28 straight events that are non-majors that he has started and finished. I know he's had some withdrawals in that time. He's got a good track record here. He's played it going all the way back to his first ever event on tour as a 15-year-old back in the mid-90s. And the big thing for me is the score typically to be in the top 20 has been 4 to 6 under for the last 5 years. If the score was lower, if it was something that this was an event where I thought you had to get, 8, 9 under to be top 20, I would think there is no chance Tiger could do it. But 4 to 6 under, if it's in that range, if his short game's on, which I think his short game's going to be really good this week, I do, he could just kind of hang around and end up top 20. Because, again, this is a course that pars are your friend. And I won't be surprised if Tiger plays a little old man golf this week.
Yeah, guys, show me Tiger. Let me get Lanto at 9-1. One of the things you guys will also hear me say often is anytime I pick somebody for a long shot, they are automatically a play for me in my top 20, which has been pretty profitable for me. Also, taking top 20 finishers who were long shot top 5 placers last year, if you find tournaments like that, it can also be profitable for you.
Completely agree. I also have Lanto 9-1 to top 20. I think, again, there's just crazy value on that for a guy that's got a good track record here. I've got Francisco Molinari plus 650. We can add him to that Lowry, group that not in the best form in the world, but he plays really difficult courses well. He plays courses really well that it's tough to hit the fairways, tough to hit the greens. He's good putting on Poana greens. And then the other guy, just because, again, he's got a history here. I think he's got 3 top 25s in his last 5. Doug Gim, 12-1 to top 20. Doug's another one of those guys that he plays tough courses actually better than he does easier average courses. I think there's some real value there.
Also, during the majors, they sometimes take players by like nationality. And one of the things I've noticed in the past is that a lot of times the Korean golfers do well on the West Coast courses. You can find some Korean golfers with some high value to top 20 in these spots as well.
I think Siwoo Kim is actually not a bad play.
Yeah.
This week. Siwoo has finished 3rd here, T37, made the cut through the last 4 years. And he's somebody that, again, he's top 12 in the field around the greens. He's 50th on putting Poana greens. So, not a bad play. All right. We made it through and actually relatively quickly. So each week we'll be back here and we're going to kind of have this format where we're going to give you a preview of the course, give you some DK plays, give you some bets to win top 5, top 10, top 20. Please be sure to check out my article on fantasy6pack.net. You can search by my name. I think it's actually on the homepage right now, but each week I usually try to have that up by Tuesday morning. Again, I give you a DK lineup and 10 total plays. Alan, you got anything you want to plug?
Nope.
How about your Twitter?
Good luck. Oh yeah, my Twitter. Oh, I am gonna eventually start doing like some draft breakdowns and things like that. I don't know if golf people are interested in that, but if
of course
you are,
they are.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you are, just follow me on Twitter. Give me a couple weeks, and I will start posting some things about prospects and draft picks.
Give your Twitter handle so that way they can follow you.
Yes, at Actively Lazy 85.
As you can see, why it's called Actively Lazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say
you'll find out username.
I'm not the best. I'm not the best with the social media, but I'm trying.
He should, because he's really good. Again, football this year in Super Contest. What was it? 63%.
Yeah, finished 63%, tied 19th on the MyBookie contest.
Very impressive. He's my boy. So he knows what he's talking about. We had a lot of hits when we did this podcast before for Club Junkies. So we're looking forward to that. And again, just want to remind everyone to become an all-access member for Fantasy Six Pack by going to fantasy6pack.net/plans. You'll get access to the Discord, access to award-winning rankings, tools. Again, me and Alan can give you golf advice. Join today. Use the promo code F6PMLB for 15% off. Please be sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel, podcast network, all of that good stuff. But for Keith Flemming and Alan Sandwich, aka Actively Lazy, this has been 2 Off the Tee on the Fantasy Six Pack Network. And we'll get you some intro and exit music here, hopefully by next week. But we will see you guys soon.